of these were had to. That's why I hate to call it obligation knitting, because I was under no obligation. These were obligations of my own making, right? But we're knitters, we're yarn creators, and we like to show our love with yarn, right? Hello, my name is Michelle, and this is Michelle's Fiber Studio podcast. Today is Monday, July 20th, and this is episode number 101. Welcome to the next 100 episodes. I hope you enjoyed my episode from last week in which I celebrated 100 episodes of the podcast. Today is a beautiful day. The last several days have just been phenomenal. The weather has been in the mid-70s. It's sunny, although we got clouds building. I think we might have a little bit of a storm kind of blow through a little bit later, but it's been a really great few days. The humidity has been a little bit lower, so it's just been delightful. I have lots to talk about today. I have a finished object. I have a couple of projects I've been working on, and I have some new things on my yarn shelf. And I'm also going to be talking about my vacation knitting plans, which I will talk about right now briefly. I am on Friday, my husband and I, Michael, and I are heading out to New York City to visit our daughter, and we are going to be gone for 8 days. So there will not be a podcast episode next week. Hopefully I'll have lots of knitting to show off when I come back the week after, but I am in my Project Dreams, aka vacation knitting segment. I will talk about kind of some of the things that I'm planning on bringing with me. So I'm not wearing any knitting today, so I think, I do have the windows open. So again, you guys probably know me by now. I prefer the windows open rather than the air conditioning. So I apologize for the road noise. But that's where we're at. So let's take a look at my finished object. Today's finished object, I am so excited for. I'm always excited, I guess, trying finished objects. That's starting to sound really old and repetitive, but I think I'm particularly excited for this particular finished object. I have finished my green striped blanket that I made for my best friend's daughter. This is a blanket that I promised to her back in the spring, and I think one of the reasons that I am so particularly happy, well, two reasons that I'm really happy to have this blanket done. First of all, she's excited to get it, so I'm really excited to give it to her. She and I have formed a particularly close bond. I've been just forming some really strong connections with her. So anyway, I'm really excited to give it to her. But this is kind of the last of, I don't want to put it this way, but it's the best way to put it, obligation knitting. Since about the middle of March, I have had 3 blankets, 3 baby-sized, this is, roughly baby-sized blanket, that I knew I needed to make, and it was probably about the middle of March or so that I bought all the yarn for all 3 of them, and I have been steadily working through. Of course, first was the baby gift for my nephew and his wife, who, by the way, had their little baby girl right after the 4th of July. I want to say it was somewhere around the 9th or the 10th. She is adorable. That's all I'm going to say. But at any rate, so I had the baby blanket for them. I had to do, or I wanted, and none of these were had to. That's why I hate to call it obligation knitting, because I was under no obligation. These were obligations of my own making, right? But we're knitters, we're yarn creators, and we like to show our love with yarn, right? So that doesn't mean that even though we're enjoying the process to a certain degree, there's not a certain weight behind it or a certain obligation, I guess, behind it, right? So at any rate, so after the baby gift, I had the second baby blanket was for this one's younger sister who needed a backup copy of the blanket that I made her when she was born. And then it was this one. So this represents the last of those projects. And I feel like now I can actually focus on, now that we're halfway through the summer, right? I can focus on some things I really kind of want to do, and which I have been doing, but I don't have to feel guilty because these have always kind of been in the background for the last several months. So, at any rate, let me talk about the details of this project. I didn't even tell you the name of it, did I? So this is the Level Up Crochet Advent Blanket by Lucienne Crochet, and it is her second version, I guess. She designed originally the Crochet Advent Baby Blanket for Advent calendars. She has a fingering weight version and a DK weight version, because this is the DK, I didn't put it in my notes, but this is the DK weight version. She's got a fingering weight and a DK weight version, and it is very popular. I've done several of the fingering weight versions already, and then with this one, the Level Up, the part that makes it a level up is that instead of it being just the chevron, you work like the foundation rows, the first set of rows, and on the back side, you work a chevron that is increasing in size, so that way it squares it off. And then she has you work this really fun border that I really like. It's pretty simple. It's just half double crochets and slip stitches on top. And it's kind of ribbing-ish-esque. She calls it a ribbing, but. And you do that on all four sides. So that's the part that makes it the Level Up. I opted to purchase, I wanted the Level Up part of it. Since I had already bought the fingering weight version, I opted to get the DK weight version of the Level Up pattern because I figured that would kind of give me numbers for both, because other than those details, the rest of this is worked identically. So I can take what I know about this part and move it easily into a fingering weight if I choose to do that again. I'm confident of that. So yeah, I'm really thrilled. So the yarn is Yarn Bee from Hobby Lobby, or Baby Bee, the Sweet Delights, and there's a couple of different ones. This is the Prince version, and it is Springtime Chateau, and that is the lightest version here that's got like the cream with some green and the browns in it. And then I did, this one is just the plain old Sweet Delight. This is Green Light. And Baby Sage. And somewhere on the bottom here, I have, this is what I have left. And the color is Shamrock and Roll. And then the ivory in between is Give Me the Moon. So I understand, oh, I should probably show you. I think it's this one here. This is all I have left. It's just like 2 grams of the Prince, the Springtime Chateau. Why is it not focusing? There we go. And I understand why, because I opted to use it at the beginning as well as the end. So this is the beginning section here. Let's hold it the way that I made it. So you can see my first segment is done with it, and then I chose to also end with it. I don't understand why this darker green, I have such a different amount than I do of the other 2 colors. Because in theory, these should have been used equally in the blanket, and I don't know. I don't understand. Not gonna really worry about it. I use this for baby yarn, baby gifts or whatever. It doesn't really matter. So I think, let's see, a couple of notes and things that I ran into as I did this blanket. So as the pattern is written, you do it in, basically it's 4-row repeats. You do 3 rows of your color, which actually is what this top section is, with a row, and it's basically double crochets with a row of single crochets in your like main color striped in. I didn't want to have to be changing colors that much all the way through. I wanted to do bigger chunks. So I started out with 8 row repeats on the bottom. I got through 2 repeats of that, 2 full repeats of that, so the 4 different colors. And I realized that I was not going to, my thought, and I thought that as I weighed it, that I would be able to do 4 segments. But I realized when I got through halfway that I had used more than half of my yarn. So I'm like, okay, well, I need to adjust. So what I decided to do at that point was to shift to 4 row repeats. And I did that for 2 sections, which essentially means it was exactly pretty much the same, and I could have just done 3 larger chunks. But I actually kind of like the difference, the 8 rows and then the smaller 4 rows. My thought as I was doing it is that I was going to do the 4 row repeats, and then I was going to do a segment maybe 2 or 3 times where I did 1 row every other row. So I did like 2 row repeats. But that would have meant changing colors every single row, because remember, in this section here, it's 3 rows and then the 1 row of the neutral. And I would not have been able to carry the neutral yarn, because at first I'm thinking, gosh, that is a lot of ends. There's already a lot of ends. I don't know that I want to weave in that many ends. I'm like, well, I could carry the neutral, and then it would be half as many ends. That wouldn't be as bad. But I realized I couldn't carry the neutral because I would work across with my main color, or my collar, and then I would work back with my neutral. I would work back across with a color. Well, my neutral yarn tail would be over here, and I would need it over here. So I was gonna have to cut it anyway. And I'm like, okay, I don't know if I want to do that. So the whole time that I was working through the last of those shorter repeats, I was kind of contemplating what I was gonna do. And then it was becoming clear that I was almost gonna be running out. So I decided to just do 1 more segment to even, or to kind of balance the colors, right, I guess. Plus I needed the 3 rows to be able to square it off. So I decided, instead of doing it in the darker green, to do that in the Springtime Chateau colorway. And that would kind of balance, because I started with it and I would also end with it. And then you do your border, and then you work the 2 sides separately. So my sides gave me a little bit of a fit. The first time, so I did one of the sides last night, and I finished it, and I realized it was too tight. It was like really pulling in. So I set it aside. I'm like, okay. So this morning I pulled it back out. I ripped it out. I also, at that point, because she has you're knitting on the wrong side, I think it is, or crocheting across the top with your neutral, and then slip stitching back, and then she has you going down the side. But that meant that I would be slip stitching back on the opposite side of the blanket as I had slip stitched across the top. And I don't know if that's going to make sense or not, but it was making, the bottom line is it was making it look slightly different. So when I ripped it out, I chose to cut it off and pick up on the other end, do my first row of my border, and then my slip stitches across. And when I did 2 things. I tried to pick up more stitches across the edge via a little denser in my pickup, and I went up a hook size to do the slip stitches. So between the 2, the bigger pickup number might have been enough, and I kept stretching it, and the slip stitch definitely has made it tighter than it was, but it's way better than it was the first time I did it. So at any rate, it is done. I am going to wash it. I just finished it a few hours ago, and I wanted to be able to show it off, so I haven't washed it yet. So it's a little ripply. It is acrylic yarn, so it's not like blocking it, but there is something to be said for washing it and throwing it in the dryer, and that does seem to sometimes kind of calm it down or settle it a little bit. So we will do that as soon as I'm done. I'm going to go throw it in the wash actually and get that taken care of. We have Bible study on Wednesday and I'll be seeing them. We're going to their house. So I cannot wait to give this to her. They just got back from vacation. And before she left on vacation, I told her I was working on it. Finally, I said, maybe by the time you guys get back, I'll have it done. So I'm really excited to give it to her because I think she's just going to really enjoy it. So, all right, I think that is all of what I need to share on this project. Share of my yarny time last week really was spent on that blanket. Once I kind of got it in my head that I wanted to finish it, I really wanted to finish it for next Wednesday, which I had said on the podcast last week. But then I was like, if I can finish it for Monday, then I can talk about it in the podcast and then I can give it to her and then it can be like totally, and I wouldn't have to just insert pictures. So I kind of really started pushing hard. I had taken, I know I already put it away. I had taken my marker out, but I think I had only gotten through, I was just starting the second batch of 8-row repeats, I think is where the marker was when I took it out. So at any rate, that didn't leave me a ton of extra knitting time to work on other things. But I did work on 2 other projects. So this little section of the podcast probably isn't going to be quite as long as it sometimes is, but I think the first one I'm going to talk about is my blue gradient socks, is what I'm calling them. This is the sock that I was working on for Sock Week, which is something that is run by Knitty Natty of the Love and Stitches podcast. So I did finish my first sock rather. I finished it last night, like at 8 o'clock at night, so just barely finished it in the week. I would have finished it easily had I not been focusing so much on that blanket, but you know what? That is a-okay. So the yarn that I'm using is from Laine de Nord. It is a paint gradient in color number 23. But it makes, well, and as you can see in the finished sock, it makes a nice striped sock. So here's my skein. I just this morning, or actually like an hour ago, just barely cast on the second cuff. So if you remember, I wasn't sure how this was going to work in order to get 2 matching socks because it's a gradient. And I just figured I would dive in and it would become clear. So when I finished that sock, I could see that my white was coming up a little bit in the middle. I did end up winding off a pretty good chunk of yarn. I haven't weighed it, but I want to say this is probably a 15-ish gram ball. And then I started my sock. I have no real way of knowing if this is the same amount of the lighter color before it really starts to get into the gradient as this. It feels a little lighter, but I don't know. Who knows? It is what it is, but it's at least going to be closer than if I had just kept going with the darker color. So I am knitting my socks on 2 circular needles, which is my preferred sock knitting method. I do knit primarily from the cuff down. I like to do it over 56 stitches. The heel that I prefer is the OMG heel by Megan Williams. It is a short row heel. It's got a really teeny heel flap, and then you move into the short row heel. So I love that heel, and it seems to work well. I made these a little bit bigger, a little longer. I did a really long leg. I didn't actually intend it to be necessarily that long, but it is. Oh well. But I did make the foot a little longer than I would for my own feet. I have really small feet. I'm a size 6. And so pretty much anybody else that I might make socks for, their feet are going to be bigger. And I might give these as a gift. I haven't decided. I might keep them. But I figured I can always wear a slightly too long sock. But if I decide to give them away and they're too short, then that's going to just be uncomfortable for the recipient. So The only thing other that I think I want to say about this yarn is it's a little toothy, I guess. It's not super, super soft. It's a 75-25, I believe. Yeah, 75-25. And there's other 75-25s or even 80-20s that I have found, and it is superwash, I think. Actually, I don't know if it's superwash. Because this is made, I think, in Italy. I'd have to look this up. And that might be the difference. That might be why it's feeling a little toothy. I'm going to have to make sure I don't throw these in the laundry like I do with my other socks. It is 75% Lana Mulesing free. Oh, that's the Italian. Mulesing free wool with chlorine free treatment. So I don't know if that means superwash in the way that Italian yarn makers would put it on their label or not. And 25% nylon. That's very clear. But Mulesing free wool with chlorine free treatment. So it is treated. Which superwash wool is treated. I don't know. I would have to look it up. But at any rate, it's got a little tooth to it, I guess, is the best way to put it. So they're not as soft. I haven't tried them on, so I don't know if it'll be uncomfortably toothy. But I don't think so. I think it'll be okay. And after they're washed, they could soften up a little bit too. I might actually block these. I don't tend to block my socks before I wear them the first time. I just don't bother. Can't be bothered. But I might block these just to see if it changes the feeling of it. But, so that is sock or project number 1. Project number 2 really only got the most love this weekend, and that is my Avenue tee. Well, I guess towards the end of the week. No, that's not entirely true. I did pick it up earlier in the week. This is the Avenue tee by Tori Yu. Let me get the needles out of the back and make sure that I don't lose my needles. All right, there we go. So I believe I was either just getting ready to split off or had just split off. I moved my stitch marker and I'll tell you why in a little bit. But at any rate, it was not that much further down on the body. What I did do this week is I have added the collar and I did both sleeves and completed both sleeves. And now I am just working down the body. And this worked out really well. We had my husband's 40th high school reunion on Saturday, and I brought this with me, and I worked on this because, you know, I didn't go to that school, so I know a few people, especially over the years of having gone. We've gone to pretty much most of the reunions, so I kind of have gotten to know a few people, but it's not like I know a lot of people. So we were kind of tucked in a corner, and I brought this with me, and I knit pretty much the whole time we were there. So where my marker is, that's how much I got done during the reunion. So I moved it because I was curious to see. So I don't know, I don't remember exactly where this marker was before. I think it was like an inch or so up, and I don't know what that means as far as where I left it. And I didn't go look at the podcast to figure it out. But at any rate, the yarn that I am using is yarn that I got actually fairly recently. Here's some more of my skein. This is still my first skein. I did join the second skein, and I left the first one joined, and then I worked on the sleeves and the collar. But this is Bigfoot Yarn Company, and it is their Wendigo sock in the Dolores colorway. They are from the Pacific Northwest. So this is yarn that I picked up at the yarn shop in Waterville back at the beginning of June when my mom and I were up there. So did I tell you what this pattern is? It's the Avenue, I think I did, the Avenue tee by Tori Yu. I don't think I might have said Tori's name, but it's by Tori anyway. So that worked out really well. I am happy to have it to the point where I am just working on the body. Now that I have finished the blanket, I can really work on both the socks and the Avenue tee. I would like to have done before I go on vacation. But I think before I get too deep into that conversation, how about we pause, well, only pause briefly for my my slide to get us into the next section, and I'll kind of dive in a little bit more into those plans. All right, we're gonna I've kept the slide project dreams, but you know, AKA vacation knitting, because that's basically what this is all about. So, picking up where I was just talking, I would love to have the socks done and this Avenue T done before I go on vacation, and I have some thoughts of the other things that I want to bring. I will definitely bring a new pair of socks. That's kind of become a tradition of mine to knit an entire pair of socks while I'm on vacation in New York City. And I work with sock yarn that I have gotten previously. So, in New York City, I should say. So I have 3 contenders, and I like them all, but those are my 3 contenders that I have gotten. I think the most recent acquisition is this one that I got last year. It is Murky Depth Deep Sock in Water Babies is the colorway. Blues and greens. I have this Yarn Over New York Times Square sock, and it is sea glass. And then the last one is Humade Yarns. It is their Sagrada Familia Made Twist. Does it have a color name? I don't see a color name. Oh, nope, I don't see a color name. Is there a color number? I don't know. At any rate, this is the last option. So I think I'm leaning towards either of these. And I think, honestly, I'm leaning towards this Humade sock. This is the one that I have had the longest. Doesn't necessarily mean I have to knit it because it's the oldest, but I do love these colors. And I think that's just kind of what I'm in the mood for. So I'm pretty sure that this is the yarn that I'm going to bring for my pair of socks. So I will wind this up. I'll have it in a bag with my needles, and I will cast it on in the bus as I leave Portland and we get going, and then I will work on it throughout the week. Wherever we go, I bring it with me, and it's kind of a fun challenge to see if I can complete the whole pair in the week. I didn't last year because it was just myself, and we didn't go as many places. We ended up hanging out a lot at my daughter's apartment. So I don't know what'll happen this year. This is like our 5th trip, I think. And there's always, I don't want to make it sound like there's nothing to do. It's New York City. There's always things to do, right? But I'm starting to feel like there's not pressing things that need to be done, or I'm just as happy in many ways just hanging out in my daughter's apartment. And it's not like if we were just there and we weren't with my daughter, we were in a hotel, then yes, we probably would, I don't want to say force ourselves, but we would definitely be going out, right? I don't know if that's how this vacation is going to shape up. So we'll see if I can get an entire pair done. So that said, I would love to have that gradient pair done before I go, just so that they're done, right? And I already actually have another pair that I want to cast on soon, and you'll see that one a little bit later too. If they're not done, it's not the end of the world, but that would be kind of fun. So I kind of have a loose goal of making sure that I have through the heel turn done before Bible study on Wednesday, and then I can work on the foot during Bible study and get as much of the foot done, and then on Thursday I can do the last of the foot and the toe. So we'll see how that slices and dices. It may or may not happen. I don't know. But that's kind of my loose goal right now around that project and my socks. The second project that I'm really excited to bring is I want to bring these yarns, which is from Emma's Yarns. It is the Harbor. It's a kit. These are her smalls, but the Harbor is the collection. But it is specifically for the goat cowl, and this is a cowl I have wanted to make for quite some time. I saw it several years ago, fell in love with it, almost ordered from Emma's Yarns a set so I could make it, and talked myself down and off the ledge, as it were. And then a year ago, when my mom and I were in Waterville at that yarn shop, I saw this kit at that yarn shop for this cowl, and I'm almost 100% sure that these were the colors that I would have bought had I ordered from Emma's Yarn. So it was like serendipity, I had to get it, right? So I've been really wanting to make this. This cowl is on my to-do list, if you will, on my want to-do list that I created at the start of the year of some of the projects that I was hoping to get done. So I think it'll be super fun. I still have that squishy teal shawl that I did not take out at all this week. It may or may not get taken out, or last week it didn't get taken out. It may or may not get taken out this week, but either way, I'm starting this one while we're on vacation because I think it'll be a super fun vacation knit. I will download the pattern and then I'm going to figure out, I don't think I'm going to wind these ahead of time. I mean, they're little mini skeins. I can wind them on the go really quite easily. So, I don't know. We'll figure it out. I haven't decided yet, but at any rate, I'm excited to do this one. Are you sensing a theme, by the way? I took these out and I had them sitting on my table and I'm like, oh, well, I think I have a particular color scheme that I go for. What do you think? All right, the last project that I would like to bring is I'll actually reach over here. I want to bring my Soubrette. My poor Soubrette has been languishing. I actually went and looked it up, and I have not worked on it since about the middle of March, and I kind of made a decision, especially as those blankets were coming up, that I was not going to work on that, and I was not going to work on my Aura Lapghan. That's the other project I think has been hibernating since about the same time. When I come back from vacation, I'm going to try to bring that Aura Lapghan out and see if I can't start working on that one. That would be lovely to have before I go back to school, but I'm getting way ahead of myself now, aren't I? At any rate, let's take a look and see where I'm at in my Aura Lapghan. Nope, in my Soubrette. There we go. Oh, this poor thing, it's all wrinkled. So I think it is something like this. I don't even remember now. I know I had started in the middle and worked down and then down and picked up stitches, but I think that's the middle. Maybe that's the middle of the back. I don't even remember. And I'm pretty sure I am still, obviously I haven't even split for sleeves yet. So I'd like to bring this. This is the yarn that I'm using, is the Illimani Sabri, which is a cotton alpaca blend, 85% cotton, 15% baby alpaca. And this is the yarn that I bought last summer when I was visiting my daughter when we went to the yarn shop in Brooklyn. So that's what I have left in this skein. I just feel like so here's, I guess, my dilemma. I don't have a ton left to do on this. I mean, I have like 11 inches of body, something like that. I don't know how much body have I gotten done. Yeah, I got maybe an inch or so on there, and I want to do about 13 inches. So I've got 11 or 12 inches of body, but I don't know where I'm going to land on this. And this is where I'm kind of debating. I'd rather not bring more projects than I need to bring, but I don't want to bring the Avenue Tea and then finish it like 2 days in on my vacation. And I guess I will have a pair of socks and I'll have my goat cowl, but I feel like my Soubrette will give me more knitting bang for my buck. And how cool would that be actually to work on the project from what, I bought the yarn in New York City, so in Brooklyn, and work on it while I'm vacationing there. So I guess that I am bringing Soubrette. That I have absolutely decided that. I guess my question and we shall see, is how much of my Avenue Tea I can get done this week before we leave on Friday morning. So I've got the rest of today, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I don't know, it's quite a bit of knitting. Whether I choose to bring it anyway and see if I can push through that knitting and then start working on the Soubrette, if I just leave it here and pick it up when I get back. I kind of don't want to have two different sweater projects going at the same time. I've been really trying to be more singularly focused on my projects. I think that's probably where my big dilemma is coming, because I'm finding I'm more effective if I'm only focusing on a couple of things at a time instead of focusing on 5 or 6 things at a time. If I'm only focusing on 2 or 3 things at a time, I actually get more accomplished. So I kind of don't want to have the Avenue Tea kind of still hanging out, and then I come back and obviously I'm not going to finish the Soubrette while I'm on vacation. And now I've got these 2 sizable projects that both need to be done. I would end up setting the Soubrette aside to finish the Avenue Tea, of course, because it would be closest to being done, and I want to be able to wear it because it's summertime. But I don't know. I guess that was really a long conversation to say I may end up bringing 4 projects. That would be the bottom line, right? So stay tuned, and I'm excited to show you all the progress that I have gotten done when I get back from vacation. I have 2 different batches of Happy Mail that I'm really excited to show off. So the first one, they're both from Woolen Woman Fibers. So I've gotten my July Woolen Woman box. So if you have not gotten yours, again, they're not a surprise because they do show the pictures. But if you've forgotten, like I always have, when it comes in, it's always fun to see. So this one, this theme is shark. And I love this box. Oh my gosh. It arrived on Saturday, I think, and I was so excited to open this. So what do I want to start with? We have a shark candle, jalapeno, pineapple, and peach. And it really smells good. I have not hardly burned any candles this summer, and I should. And I know it's summertime and it doesn't feel like candle burning season, but I should, because that would be nice to have those burning off to the side here. There is a beautiful little wool wash bar. It is pineapple, bamboo, and coconut. Is what that says. I got a little shark hang tag. Could hang that off of my project bed. My project markers, here they are on the bottom, are super cute. Look at those. Those are by Sam's Tiny Trinkets. And then here's the project bag. How cute is that? Those little sharks, they're so happy looking. I might have to put my sock in this project, or my goat cowl, actually. I think my goat cowl will go in here. And then the inside, it's this just lovely, lovely blue. The same, I think it's the same, yeah, it's the same blue as the bottom. That's what they have on the inside. And then the yarn, you ready for the yarn? Oh my gosh, I think I squealed when I opened this up. It's so pretty. Look how fun. It's so fun. I love the colors, the bright neon green. Oh my gosh, so pretty. I think, as much as I hate to put this on my feet, it would make a really fun pair of socks. So that's kind of the other reason I want to finish those blue gradient socks, because when I get back from New York City, I will hopefully have finished my New York City socks. I can cast these on like pronto quick, because it's gorgeous, and I think it would be so fun to knit. Yeah, fun. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, and then the other yarn that I got is my Q2 Patreon sock set. And it is this one. It is called Sun Ripened. And it is also really beautiful. This one surprised me when I got the shipment or the delivery notification this morning that it was up for delivery. I hadn't expected this one, so super fun. I love their yarn. I love their color scents. Really, really enjoying this. And at some point, I was telling my husband, at some point, I'm gonna probably have to stop getting it, but somehow it keeps renewing, and I haven't stopped yet. So we'll see how long I keep that one going. So anyway, those are my latest additions to my yarn shelf. I don't have a terrible amount to share for kind of my day-to-day from the last week. Again, I've been leaning into the quietness of life right about now, where school is on break still. I am really trying hard not to think about the fact that we're in the last third of July. It's the 20th today. So I'm really trying hard not to think about it. And I've got like, what, 5 weeks left? But anyway, moving on, shoving that aside. Last week on Wednesday, though, a group of us went to lunch from work. There was 5 of us. We kind of end up hanging out a lot at school and have lunch together a lot at school. My 2 work besties, and then a couple of others, and the assistant principal, actually, who we are pretty friendly with. So that was really fun. We went to a local Italian restaurant for lunch and did that. And let's see, I have been picking lots of berries. My bushes are very prolific this year. I probably need to go out and pick again. I picked on Friday and I did not pick all weekend, so I might wait and just do it tomorrow, and then see, that'll probably work, but I'm probably due to get another batch. We, on Saturday, had my husband's 40th high school class reunion. It was fun. It was so loud in the venue. It was at a golf course, so like in their clubhouse, I guess, but it was definitely a room that is reserved or typically would be used for large groups. I don't know what they would use it for otherwise, but there was nothing in that room to absorb sound. Not the ceiling, not the walls, not the floor, like absolutely nothing. And there were probably 125 of us, and it's not that anybody was yelling, it's just there was a lot of people and everybody was talking, and it was so hard to hear, like even the person sitting like right next to you. I had one woman come up to me, one of my husband's classmates, and he was off visiting, and she came up. She had been sitting opposite us at the table, and she came around to talk to me at one point, and she's my husband said she's always soft-spoken anyway, and she still is probably very kind of soft-spoken, and I felt bad that I couldn't give her eye contact, but I literally had to lean, when she was talking, I had to lean and position my ear towards her mouth so that I could hear what she was saying, because it was so loud. When we walked out, we were there for almost 4 hours, and it was like cotton in the ears kind of environment. But I got a lot of knitting done. I knew that I was probably gonna have plenty of opportunity to knit, and I did. So I pulled it out and got a lot done. So that was great. And then yesterday we had our church picnic after church. One of our church members has a summer house on a lake, and so they always invite us over, and we went and did that. My husband and I picked up our Subway sandwiches and brought them with us, but it was so windy. I don't know what the gusts were as far as miles per hour, but it was so windy, and it was mid-70s, but with the wind coming off the lake, it was a little cold. Like I had pants on, and I thankfully brought a sweatshirt, and I had that sweatshirt on, and I was still a little on the cool side. But it wasn't even the cold so much as just that constant buffeting of the wind on your face. Like we stayed for maybe an hour or so, and then it's like, okay, I've got to go home. I'm tired of the wind. Like, it was exhausting. It was great company, but man, a few of the brave kids, went in the lake, because the lake itself, my understanding, I'm sure, was warm, especially because we've had such a hot summer. So the lake itself was warm, but boy, once you got out, they were shivering and cold. But so yeah, that was that, and that brings me to today. I've got a few days here of kind of chill, relaxing, gym day tomorrow. And then I gotta start thinking about what I'm gonna pack to bring to New York as far as clothing. I've already got my yarn figured out, as you saw, but we leave first thing early. Friday morning, we are taking a bus that leaves Portland at 6:30. It should have us in the city by 12:30, and then we'll spend a little over a week, come home the following Saturday. So I think that about wraps it up for me. I thank you so very much for joining me. Please do hit the like button and subscribe if you enjoyed this podcast. I will have links down below in the show notes for all the things that I have talked about. You can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Knittin Michelle, KNITTINMICHELLE. You could also send me an email at michellesfiberstudio@gmail.com. With that, I hope you have a fantastic couple of weeks, and happy knitting.